First story is titled, Update. Am I the a-hole for not siding with the other wives? Original story. Background. I've been with my husband for 6 years total, married for 2. We have no children and do not plan to. My 27 female, husband 32 male, has a group of guys that has been friends with since elementary school. After college, they all moved back to the same area and several of them rented a house together until they started getting girlfriends and moving out. After they moved out, they still had guys' nights nearly every Friday until COVID happened. They started back up a few months ago after restrictions in our area relaxed, and the majority of the guys started getting tested regularly because of their jobs. There is one single guy, let's call him Ben, left in the group, and they meet at his house and hang out in the carport to drink a few beers and just shoot the crap. I've never had a problem with my husband Will going guys' night. He gets off work at 5 and is usually home no later than 8 every Friday. He never drives home drunk, and if he ever does have a few too many, I don't mind going to pick him up. I feel like I should note that we live the farthest away from Ben's house, about 15 minutes. All the other guys live within walking distance of Ben. Usually, I bake cookies or other snacks for him to take with him to share with the guys. I also don't mind driving the other guys home if needed. If we have plans or anything, he doesn't go. Since the guys' night has resumed, the other wives have been complaining about it. We're friendly, but none of us are really good friends like our husbands are. We've tried to have a girls' night while the guys have their night, but most of them have kids, and we really don't have anything in common outside of our husbands. It was just awkward. One of the guys, Alex, is married to Faith, and they have a 1-year-old baby. Faith has been particularly vocal about not wanting Alex to be out every Friday, as she wants help at home. The other wives backed her up and started a group chat asking that we present a united front to cancel guys' night. Here's where I may be the a-hole. I refuse to side with them. It gives me time to unwind after work, and it's become part of my routine. So, when the other wives told their husbands that they didn't want guys' night to happen anymore, I told Will that I didn't feel the same way and he should keep going. He enjoys it, and he should get to see his friends regularly. So, after the confrontation, the other guy started in with, "Why can't you be cool like Will's wife?" Or, "She lets him go. She even makes us cookies and picks him up," etc. Alex apparently made a comment, "I wish I was still single like Ben. He can do whatever he wants, and I missed that." All the other wives are pissed at me, saying if we had been a united front like they planned, guys' nights would either be cancelled or a less frequent occurrence, once a month. So, am I the a-hole? Edit. Some info to clear up some assumptions I'm seeing in the comments. All the wives work. I do not know if the moms get nice to themselves like the guys do. I do not know the details of their family dynamics. I do know all the wives have tried to have girls' night amongst ourselves, and it didn't work, because we have nothing in common. I'm pretty sure all the wives have other friends, but I do not know when/how often they do things outside of the home. I send cookies and treats because I make them for my blog, not just to make them for the guys. I did not respond to the original messages in the group chat. I found out that the wives confronted the guys via my husband. Let's read the top comments before moving on to the update. Not the a-hole. Those guys are total a-holes. Imagine that at the end of a work week, these guys want a night to relax and the wives take care of the kids alone to make it happen. They work too. I guarantee they too would love taking the night off. And instead of being appreciative, these dudes whine that their wives don't bake cookies or come pick them up despite being within walking distance. If your spouse is taking care of the kids alone so that you can have a weekly night out, you make them a meal/snacks/cookies to show your appreciation and make their evening a touch easier. And you don't ask them to take the kids out at 8 p.m., get everyone their kids' seats and everything, just so you don't have to walk home or accept a lift from a friend. The complaining didn't start until after COVID restrictions lifted. I guess they got used to having the guys home every Friday during those few months. Before, it had been a standing weekly thing for nearly 10 years. I mean, COVID has been half the lifespan of the 1-year-old's life. Wanting your husband to cut back on leisure activities to help with a literal infant is not unreasonable. Not the a-holes. The wives are a-holes. The other guys are a-holes. But this is also coming after being together for 25 years. Back when we had little ones, I likely would have understood the wife's position more. Weekly might be a bit much. Why not every other week or once a month as a compromise? Weekly might be a bit much. I'd agree if it was a late night finish, but when the guy who lives the farthest distance is home by 8 p.m. at the latest, I think weekly should be fine. Now for the update. A lot has happened in the last 3 weeks, but I'm going to try to condense it for the character limit. After reading all the replies together, Will and I decided it would be best for him to confront his friends, particularly Alex. He told them it wasn't cool to try to throw me under the bus with their wives, and that their wives, especially the ones with kids, need and deserve time to themselves too. Well, according to the guys, all the wives are getting time to themselves without the kids each week, with Alex's wife Faith getting the most time out of anyone. She works until 4, but doesn't pick up their baby until 7 every day. She has a workout class 3 times a week, and a standing girls' night every Wednesday where she doesn't come home until 10 to 11 p.m. Alex picks up the baby on Wednesdays. Will and I had a brief, socially distanced get-together in our yard to clear the air. I confirmed what the guys had said about the wives getting time, and the wives admitted that they do, whether it's manicures, gym time, book club, etc. That's when I found out about Faith's social schedule. They then confirmed that all the guys were attentive and involved dads. Will later told me he was sure his friends weren't complete ass-bags, but was glad to have the reassurance. Then it erupted into a fight between Alex and Faith, with Alex saying he only gets 1 hour a week to himself since he gets off at 7 and is home by 8. Faith broke down and started screaming that it wasn't the time spent with his friends, but his comments the following days. She then turned on me, literally pointed and screamed that it is my fault. That during the lockdown, for the first time in over 5 years, she didn't have to listen to Alex talk about me all freaking weekend. I was shell-shocked and didn't know what to say, but Will jumped in and told her she could not talk to me like that, and she should probably leave before she said something she couldn't take back. Faith left, and Alex stayed. Afterwards, the other wives admitted they only agreed the ultimatum after Faith relentlessly persuaded and pushed them into it. I have never seen this side of Faith before, so I had no idea she could be like this. Alex has been sleeping at Ben's house for almost 2 weeks now. He's still been picking up / spending time with the baby, but he doesn't sleep at his house. He says they're going to try therapy, and if that doesn't work, they'll probably separate. As much as I dislike the guy, I feel bad for him. Guys' night has resumed. I still send cookies, but Will says he doesn't bring me up and shuts the guys down if they try to talk about me. Now for the top comments. Damn, sounds like that marriage was over, but it's still not your fault. I think you sound like the convenient excuse Faith have to pick a fight. It's definitely not Opie's fault, but it does sound like Alex got a crush / infatuation with Opie. Crushes happen, but the way to handle it is to distance yourself from the object of the crush. Not to talk about the crush all weekend to your partner, and then be surprised when they act like an insecure psycho. Lol. Honestly, I've never picked up a vibe that Alex has a crush on me. In fact, I've never really gotten the sense that he even likes me that much at all. When I met Will, I was still in college, and he would constantly make cracks about Will robbing the cradle or make fun of me for trying to get a good picture of the two of us for Instagram when we'd be out as a group. Just stuff like that. Since he was one of Will's best friends, I tolerated him the best I could. Later, we find out we have similar tastes in movies, music, and books. We can generally be civil when we're talking about that stuff, so that's all we really talk about if we have to be around each other. Since he's in the restaurant industry, he's interested in my baking blog. I still don't really like the guy, but we can hold conversation when we need to. Occasionally, we will text each other book recommendations or to look up an artist's new album, but that's it. It was great that everyone got together to talk through this problem together as a group, instead of he said she said. It's unfortunate what Alex and Faith is going through, but luckily the cause has been found, so that is not directed at you anymore. Your husband standing up for you is great, and I'm glad the other wives came around as well. So happy your husband and the other wives eventually stood up against all the nonsense, but sorry to hear it took these fights to get there. Thank you for the update. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my husband's colleague to stop bringing him meals that she cooks every day? I, female 35, been married to my husband, Tom, male 32, for 3 years. We recently moved to a new home about 4 months ago, and he started his new position at a private company and met new people who became friends with him outside of work. His work colleague, Claire, is a bit intrusive and doesn't really respect boundaries. She'd bring meals to my husband at work pretty much every day, and buy him stuff, saying she does this with everybody. She bought him a keychain before. Then he came home with a new tie, and there wasn't even an event at the company or outside of it. My husband said she is just generous and has a good heart. She'd call him after work to ask what he'd like to eat the next day. WTF. I was stunned and confused. He didn't reply to her, saying he doesn't want to make me upset, and sort of drop it. The next day he came from work with her meal leftovers, wanting me to try her cooking. I started getting uncomfortable and I wanted to meet her, since I was told she's a good person, and what I found out was far from the truth. She saw me in the car with my husband and said hi in the meanest way imaginable. She kept asking me rude questions and made comments about my age. I tried to end the conversation and we left after that. My husband wanted to invite a few friends over dinner, since neither his nor my family lived near. And Claire was invited as well. She started talking about work and basically excluded me from the conversation, and it was rude, very rude. And then brought up my age again. I was getting uncomfortable but didn't say anything until she asked my husband what he wanted to eat the next day. I told her thank you, but she shouldn't be bringing him meals at work. I thought that was inappropriate and not professional. She talked about him trying something new and her cooking background and stuff. I told her no thanks, but she disregarded my opinion. I got so mad at the blatant disrespect and told her to stop bringing him meals at work. She got upset, and then after the argument she ended up leaving. My husband thinks I'm being rude to her and that I should apologize, but I refused because she was out of line completely, especially after being told no. He calls me controlling, but I don't see how that's true. Added to say that I cook as well during the week, so it's not like we don't eat fresh meals, so she's being openly disrespectful and rude. Added to, everyone I talked to thought it was strange behavior as well. It's not a common thing for a female coworker to bring food to work. And of course, she isn't the only female coworker at the company, and I can't find an explanation for this behavior and the point of it. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. I'd find it extremely weird if another woman was consistently cooking for my partner specifically. It's one thing if she likes to cook and brings food for everyone at the office. It's another to single him out, especially after you've communicated that it makes you uncomfortable. Yep, I had mixed feelings about judgment, until I got to the part about her texting after hours to ask him specifically what he wanted to eat and the snide age comments. It seems like she's trying to drive a wedge. And Opie's husband is eating it up, literally, demanding she apologize. I had a boyfriend with a roommate like this. She'd make comments about my age and call him when he was out with me to come pick her up. And he'd go. I told him that it was inappropriate and that he was acting like she was his girlfriend, and he'd poo-poo me and try to make me sound controlling / insecure to mutual friends. No surprise to find out eventually that they were screwing. Exactly. I told my sister and she stared at me confused. She too found that weird and inappropriate. I cook for him, by the way, and my cooking is not bad at all. He even has favorite meals that always wants me to cook. But this, I don't know what to say honestly. She seems quite rude and clearly has no boundaries. Not the a-hole, but Claire and your husband are. Claire is being rude to you and disrespectful to your relationship with your husband. Too many boundaries are being violated, but you have a bigger problem than Claire. Your husband. Your husband should have shut down this behavior ages ago. Instead, he is encouraging it and allowing this woman to disrespect you. Not to mention your husband has been present when this woman has been rude to you, and he has said nothing to defend you. Your husband also invited her over to your house even when he knows how you feel about her. You have a marriage problem, not a Claire problem. Your partner doesn't care how this is making you feel, and that's the main issue. Instead, he says you are being mean to her. This is unacceptable, and you two really need to work on your relationship. If your husband respected and cared for you, he would be shutting Claire down, and you wouldn't have to worry about her. This is creepy and inappropriate as all get out. Why does your husband not find this bizarre? Why is he not standing up for you? Something really weird is going on here. He doesn't mind it until he notices how much it upsets me. He doesn't even eat properly at home because of her meals. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for wanting a say at my wedding, although I'm not the bride? I'm getting married in like 2 months, and I'm having an argument right now with the family of my fiancé. My 28 male, soon-to-be brother-in-law, 22 male, wants to propose to his girlfriend of 6 months at our wedding. He came over to ask my fiancé, 26 female, if that would be okay, and she is always doing everything to make him happy and said of course. I was at work, and she told me after I came home. I said, I don't think I'm okay with that, because this should be our day, and I don't want any spotlight to be taken away from her. She said that was sweet, saying that, but she's okay with doing this for her brother. Now, my fiancé always goes out of her way to make her brother happy. He needs a ride? She's on it. He wants to buy something expensive but hasn't the full sum. She will help out. This originated when their mom died when they were young. I'm totally okay with her helping him out, and I understand her brother is a really important person in her life. But this request takes it too far, in my opinion. I want this wedding to be the special day for us, something we can always think back of and talk about how nice it was. I also want my fiancé to have not to worry about anything on this day. Also, I'm not even sure if brother-in-law should even propose at this date. He might be getting carried away from our wedding and the constant talk about it. I don't think brother-in-law and his girlfriend are in the "we will be getting married" stage yet, but I could be wrong on that one. I have the fear that the answer of the girlfriend won't be an instant yes, and there will be drama. Or, it is a yes and that the relationship doesn't last long, and our memories of our day will be forever be stained. I brought up these concerns with my fiancé, and she basically told me not to worry about it. This will be our day no matter what, but I think she's a bit blind to her relationship with her brother. Finally, I told her I don't want the proposal happening on our wedding day, but we could help her brother set something up on another day. She accepted my position and said she would talk to her brother. Since I made my stand clear, I'm getting calls from her family, stepmom, dad, and sister. That is none of my business if my fiancé wants to let brother-in-law propose on our wedding, because she is the bride, and she gets the say. Also, I shouldn't stand between her and her brother, and it makes me an a-hole that I don't want to fulfill her wishes because she's the bride. Am I the a-hole for putting my foot down in this instance? Edit. I just want to correct the posters who are going after my fiancé. She accepted my veto and is supporting my decision. The problem are my future in-laws. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole completely. Brides and grooms should have equal say at a wedding. It's both of your special days. If you veto something that affects you both, it should be stayed vetoed. 2 yeses, 1 no. Might be a good time to talk with your wife to be about what boundaries you two plan to set with the rest of her family though. Sounds like it's going to be a recurring thing. Not the a-hole. I'm so sick of the whole "it's the bride's day so she gets what she wants" game. No, there are 2 people getting married, and they should both have an equal say about important things. There's a lot of things about a wedding that you may need to compromise on if the 2 of you don't agree 100%, if this isn't one of them. I also just don't understand why this idea of weddings being a great place to propose is so pervasive. Not the a-hole, but be clearer in your message. You don't want this because you don't want this. Stick to that. Don't make it about what your fiancé needs or trying to rein in your brother-in-law-to-be's bad decisions. Your emotional needs matter too, and that's enough. First story is titled, Update. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to hide that my moms are gay to my girlfriend's parents? Original story. I'm 17 and started going out with my girlfriend 7 months ago. We were already chatting before school went online, and I asked her out after. So, her parents want to meet mine when it's safe to do that and have dinner at their house. I'm cool with that, and my moms are too. But girlfriend told me that her parents don't know I have 2 moms, and she don't want them to. Not because they're raging homophobes, but they don't like that. She just says it will make them feel weird and uncomfortable and ask if only one of my moms could go. I don't know, I just don't see why I gotta lie. If we stay together, obviously they will find out, and also that would be mean to ask my moms if one of them not go. I've never been embarrassed about it or weird, so don't see why it even matters. My girlfriend has been pissed at me ever since, and she just tells me to do it so it's not uncomfortable for her parents. Even my friends are saying it's not a big deal, and it's not like I'll get grounded for asking my moms to do this. I'm caught in the middle here because I don't want to lie about my moms nor exclude one of them, but everyone is acting like I'm being the a-hole for not doing this thing. Now for the top advice before reading the update. Not the a-hole, and I think you should consider whether this girl really values you if she wants you to hide your family. She's concerned about how her parents would feel, but she doesn't seem to mind hurting yours. Your parents may not ground you for asking, but they are likely to be hurt. It doesn't sound like that's something you want. The fact that his friends told him to just go along with it because it's not like he'll get grounded made me furious. I know they're just teenagers, but even at that age, you should know that the reason you don't do something hurtful isn't because you'll get grounded. It's because someone will get hurt. What a bunch of self-absorbed a-holes. Not the a-hole. Your girlfriend seems to have an issue with your moms. What if you two have kids and one of them is queer? Would you need to hide that from her parents too? This is your family, and if she and her family can't accept that, then she's not the one for you. Not A-hole. My mom is gay, and the second my partner asked if one of my moms could attend a dinner, that would have been the end of the relationship. That's never, ever going to be okay with me. She has shown you where she stands on this. And you can talk to her, but honestly, it is unlikely to change in my experience. Not A-hole. The embarrassment your girlfriend is fearing now will be 1000% more when they find out you lied about it. From her parents' side, you lied about something major and aren't now trustworthy. From your parents' side, annoyance to the girlfriend about her wanting you to lie. From her parents, anger that your girlfriend pulled this crap. From your parents, sadness because you went along with it. They'll be asking if you were ashamed of them. That's a whole bunch of crazy that can be avoided. And now for the update. So, we broke up. Yesterday, since it had already been days of us not talking. I listened to your comments and decided to ask how would she feel if I told her only one of her parents could go cause my moms are uncomfortable around heterosexual couples. She basically laughed and said it's not the same thing because that's a normal couple. That kinda got me, and I asked what's not normal about my moms. I think that's when she saw she messed up with what she said. She said she didn't mean it like that, and just knows it would be awkward and weird because her parents don't like that. Then I asked her if she would feel like that too, and she didn't say anything. We talked for a while and she still wasn't getting how this would hurt my moms asking them to hide who they are. Then it got to where she admitted it would also be embarrassing for her parents to know I have two moms. And yeah, I wasn't gonna take that and told her we're done. Not gonna be with someone who's embarrassed about my moms or doesn't want others to know. That was it. My friends haven't said anything to me yet, but I think I'm just gonna block them out because I don't want to deal with their crap right now. I know I said in my comments I was thinking about asking my moms for advice, but since we're broken up, I'm not gonna tell them why. I only told my moms it wasn't working out with her, so we're done. They don't need to know why because I don't want them to feel it's their fault. They really liked my girlfriend. This would hurt their feelings knowing she was feeling that way. It's not my first breakup, but it still really sucks, and I'm feeling sad. It is what it is, though. Thanks for everyone's help and for telling me your own experiences. Stands and claps. As a parent, if my kid came to me and told me this, I would first feel hurt. But I'd quickly get over that and feel so damn proud that my kid stood up for himself, his beliefs, and his parents. So just know this Reddit mom is very proud of you. I don't want them to feel it's their fault. I don't think you need to worry about that. And yeah, they probably would be disappointed in her, although I suspect they'll be more inclined to blame the sources she picked up that attitude from. But it might save you from well-meaning attempts on their part to try and fix things. Your call, though. I think they'd be very proud of the way you've handled this if they knew the full story, and I'm sure there are better relationships ahead of you. One of my moms has a habit of still feeling bad over this kind of stuff. Like once in middle school. Some kids did say stuff to me, and she stopped going to my school events for a while so other kids wouldn't make fun of me. We had to convince her to go because I wanted her there. I just don't want them to feel bad. I think it's really great that you're shielding your moms from feeling guilty about the relationship ending. However, once you are in a better place and have gotten over the relationship, and maybe after getting into a different, happy relationship, I think it would be good to tell your moms about this, if it does come up. It's always nice to hear that someone you care about stood up for you. I gotta say, you handled this with a lot of maturity, especially for someone who's only 17. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for leaving in an Uber after what my husband did at the restaurant? Me, 31 female, and my husband, 35 male, have been married for 14 months. He is a middle school teacher and very close to his family. Loves to help out but can be firm at times. He adores his 1.2-year-old niece, his sister's baby. He always babysits whenever he's got nothing to do, and I help with whatever I can. We haven't gotten out for a nice dinner in a while, so I asked if we could go out to a new restaurant and try their food and have a good time together. He agreed. I immediately made reservations and took care of everything. Since I couldn't take the day off, I left work early and went to meet him there at the restaurant. I walked in and saw my husband sitting, and his niece in a car seat by the table. I asked, and he said his sister had work and wanted him to watch his niece. His family were out of town, so there was no one else beside him. I noticed the restaurant staff were giving us looks, since it's not a child-friendly restaurant, and I was worried the baby would cry or something. She was asleep then. We ordered our meals while he was calming his knees down because she was crying out loud. He kept asking the waitress about stuff they don't have for his knees. I couldn't take the looks from people unable to enjoy their meals because of the noise husband's knees was making. Especially when he started singing "You're Welcome" from a Moana movie while swinging her. I got up to the restroom. A few minutes later, I heard him arguing loudly. I went to see that he was actually trying to change his niece's diaper on the table. The waitress was arguing with him. I was in shock. The manager came after my husband said it'd take a minute to get it done. The manager spoke to me and asked me to leave eventually. I was livid. We left and I blew up outside. I asked my husband why the table while people were eating. That he could have told me. Otherwise, I wouldn't have picked a restaurant that doesn't allow infants. That he embarrassed me, ruined dinner, and got us kicked out. He started arguing with me like I was one of his students after I refused to get in the car, giving me 0/10 for my reaction and claiming I picked a bad restaurant. He said that he was helping his sister and I needed to understand that. After the argument, I took an Uber and went home. He went to his sister's place and called saying I shouldn't have left like that. It'd make him feel guilty for wanting to help. But I didn't respond. Edit. I just want to say that my husband is the one who insists on taking his knees. He doesn't consider this babysitting. He just loves to be with her and take care of her. He said he wants us to adopt since it's our only way of having children. Medical reasons. He absolutely adores kids, so I understand his bond with his niece. But the restaurant incident was blamed on me. He thinks my reaction was over the top. And honestly, I have no idea why he thinks people should mind their own business when he's behaving like that in a public place. Now for the top comments. Not at A-Hall. Who the hell changes a baby at the table and not in the restroom when they're in public? Why does he act like his niece is his kid and bring her everywhere? Especially when it's clear you're trying to have some time with just you and your husband. He absolutely embarrassed the hell out of you. And furthermore, try to make you feel guilty for picking a nice restaurant when you were under the reasonable assumption you could have a nice dinner. You need to have some serious talks with your husband and your sister-in-law regarding boundaries and childcare because this is 100% not okay. Edit. I am aware that many men's restrooms still don't possess changing tables. However, you can either take the baby to the car or change them on the floor of the restroom as other users have suggested, or use the family restroom if one is available. There's zero excuse for changing the baby on the table of a restaurant and introducing a biohazard where everyone else is eating. You'd be surprised. I saw somebody actually do it at a dining table at a county fair. The owner of the place saw them through the mirrors he had wisely set up and came out screaming, justifiably, and they actually argued with him. And the restrooms of both genders had changing tables. Holy crap! That's disgusting. They argued with the owner? That's even worse. Like, go to the bathroom with the kid. Nobody wants to deal with the stank while they're eating. Not at A-Hall. He should have told you so you could have gone somewhere else to eat. Also, changing diapers in the middle of a restaurant is absolutely not acceptable. First of all, I'm sorry for the late response. Yes, exactly. That's what bothered me. He could have simply let me know. I did not expect this from him, and it's the first time I see him do it. I told him about how others felt while they were eating, and he says he doesn't care and that they should just mind their own business. But this is a public place. He claims that I'm against the idea of him spending time with his niece, but that is not true. He was actually trying to change his niece's diaper on the table. Not at A-Hall. This is gross. Your husband should have given you the heads up so you could book a different restaurant or even decline the sister's request because it was your date night. Thank you for being the only self-aware adult at the table. Some places are just not suitable for young children. Now for the last story. Am I the A-Hall for telling my boyfriend he stinks? So, me, 22 female, and my boyfriend, 23 male. He has a tendency that when he wears his clothes for 2 to 3 days, he'll put the clothes back in the wardrobe even though they smell bad. His excuse is that he can't tell that they smell, so he doesn't know. So I usually sort out his clothes. It got to a point where they smell so bad, the smell catches on to other clothes and I have to laundry too often. I tried to tell him that even if you can't tell, it's common sense to put your clothes in the wash after a day or two. At the beginning, I told him nicely with him sulking and getting upset and saying, "Okay babe, I'll do it," meaning he'll never do it. I know him, and it's been going on for years at this point. Somehow, this turned into an argument, and apparently I don't know how to tell things nicely. Even though if I say it nicely, it's not good enough. If I kinda try to make a joke of it, he doesn't get it. But when I'm firm, I'm too cruel for him. So I gave him an example. If I am to wear the same clothes over and over again, the clothes will start smelling, and hence I will stink because of it. I told him the exact thing. You stink because of his clothes. He burst out into tears, saying, "You don't know how much that impacts me," and just left the house to take the dog out. I'm actually dumbfounded right now. I'm just sitting on the sofa, and I don't know if I should cry or laugh. I have tried every approach I can think of over the years. He always says, "Yeah, okay," but then the cycle repeats. I told him I'm not his mother, and I shouldn't teach him this kind of things. And even a young kid would know when the clothes smell. So, am I the a-hole for telling my boyfriend he stinks? Not the a-hole. He's a grown man who should know what basic hygiene is. You've approached it multiple times, and obviously you're at your wit's end. It sounds like he might be being a little bit manipulative by saying, "You don't know how much that impacts me," because it's not as though he is making active changes to his hygiene to begin with. You're just calling him out. You telling him that he stinks after multiple instances of having the same conversation can't be of news to him. I think it's more than a little manipulative. I we should know this say it nicely, ignore nicely said thing, say it firmly, gets called out for being too mean thing happens to women a lot. It's meant to shut you up entirely, and it's a game you can't win. This is a problem. Also, you're doing his laundry? Maybe stop that. Not the a-hole, and frankly, I think this is a deal breaker. A mature human being needs to know when to wash their clothes, and needs to take responsibility for that. What else is he expecting you to do for him? Not the a-hole. If your boyfriend is an adult, he needs to learn basic hygiene. Does he shower often and wear deodorant? I just can't wrap my head around getting clean in the shower and throwing back on dirty clothes. I'm currently working on teaching this lesson to 2 people I live with. I tell them they stink. They shower, then throw on the same hoodie they've worn for days. I threaten to put them and a hoodie outside. Then they launder the hoodie. The difference is they are my kids in their teens. Not the a-hole. As for you don't know how much that impacts me, I'd be tempted to tell him that the answer is obviously not enough, since he never changes. First story is titled, Update. Am I the a-hole for pouring my husband's sweet tea down the drain? Original story. I lost my part-time job due to COVID and I've basically become a little housewife. I'm fine with that, as that's always been my role in my relationship anyways. It's just less hard to keep up with now. I'm also in school for nursing, but obviously I'm doing that from home. My husband works full-time and works hard. His commute to work is very long, over an hour each way. We go running together every day, and because I know it's a lot of stress for him, we meet 20 minutes away from our home so he doesn't have to come home and drive back out. He calls me when he's 20 minutes away and I leave. Today, I was 7 minutes late as I had to turn off all the lights and get myself together before leaving the house. When I got there, he coped a major attitude with me for being late. Refused to even speak to me for being 7 minutes late. I tried to explain that I had to put my shoes on and turn out the lights, but he wouldn't talk to me. The run was very awkward, and when we got home, he said that he felt he had every right to be angry and stomped off upstairs. I've had a lot of pent-up feelings about the fact that he has always expected me to be at his beck and call. It's like he thinks the whole world revolves around his time schedule because I lost my job. Anytime he's hungry, thirsty, he yells my name. He doesn't even serve his own plates anymore. It's like he thinks I just sit in the dark with my hands folded, waiting for him to call. At this point, I knew he was being ridiculous, and I was just so upset that I did something that may make me the a-hole. When he came downstairs, I told him that he could make his own dinner, his own lunch tomorrow for work, and I looked him straight in the eyes. I poured a pitcher of sweet tea I make him every week down the drain. And I said, "You can make your own freaking sweet tea too, you ungrateful brat." And I walked out and drove to my mom's house. So, am I the a-hole for that overreaction? I was just so annoyed. Now for the top comments before reading the updates. Not at a-hole. I felt like the everybody sucks crowd had a point until I saw he's 31 and you're 19, and he specifically wanted a housewife. Look, age gap relationships can work out fine and be perfectly healthy, provided the older partner treads with care. He has an obligation to be especially mindful, patient, kind, and to make your needs and comfort the focus of the relationship. He should be letting you guide everything, following your lead, and not concerning himself with what he wants. Otherwise, he's just an exploitative creep. No. 19 and 31 is never gonna be okay. That means at 30 he went out and found a girl that was legal by the skin of her teeth and married her as fast as he could. That is so deeply not okay. I mean, clearly this dude was looking for a hot young bang maid, but I don't see any scenario where a 30-year-old can go after an 18-year-old without being a creep. Typically, when people do creepy stuff like that, it's because they can't get a person in their own age group, because there is something troubling about them. It sounds like this dude has major low self-esteem and insecurity issues. I am a year younger than this guy. I would run for the hills once I saw a red flag that intense. Same with the expecting a subservient housewife. Okay, so there's a lot here. Girl, you're 19. You and this man are not equals. He thinks of you more as a maid than as a partner, and that's not going to change. You've got a whole life to live, and you can't limit yourself to serving an older man who doesn't care about you forever. Leave. Find a job, even a crappy one for now. Find local food pantries. If you can't afford a cheap place right now, try to stay with friends. You are worth so much more than this. Nothing wrong with being a housewife, but only in a fair partnership, which this is clearly not. Go live your life, not a hole. Please leave before he locks you down with babies. I was going to say you probably overreacted a little bit, but then I saw that you are 19 and is 31. Of course you overreacted. You were still just a kid at that point, who was spotted by a 30-year-old man as being vulnerable. He has groomed you and placed you in exactly the position he wanted. A young girl he can sleep with and keep tied to the house and to him. He got mad about 7 minutes because he is training you to be scared of letting him down at all, or be even 7 minutes late to something. So by getting angry, he expected you to roll over like the dog he thinks you are and beg for forgiveness. It must have been a shock to him that you didn't do that, and I'm honestly very concerned about you going back to that house where he could possibly punish you. Please be careful. Now for a little update. I deleted my edits because I wanted to do an update, as I see a lot of kind, wonderful people so concerned about my well-being. I want to thank each and every one of you for being so supportive. I don't have any friends anymore, and all the messages and comments have made me feel like I have a support group. For now, I'm staying at my parents' indefinitely. My mom is helping me write a list of all the reasons I'd want to stay and all the reasons I'd like to leave. I have always been a very independent person, and I think I've been lying to myself about my situation for a long time. I called him to tell him I wouldn't be coming home, and he didn't really seem to care much, which did hurt a lot. Either way, I'm going to get through this, and I'm going to get my degree. For those of you concerned about kids, don't worry, I have an IUD. Again, thank you all so much. Your love and support means more to me than I can express. Now for a full update. So, it's been a few days since my original post. Everyone was so kind, helpful, and supportive. I received so many messages, and I want to thank each one of you for them. They meant more to me than you know. Well, I've left my husband, and it really wasn't over this one incident, but really a buildup of many. Before I even made a post, I wasn't completely blind to what he had been doing in terms of control. As weird as it seems, sometimes I just forget I am an adult, and I don't have to just yes sir and listen to any man that's older than me. I'm an adult now. I make my own rules. I feel sick saying this, but I realize I had been viewing him as a parental figure and not a partner. It kind of makes my stomach twist to even type that, but that is what it is. I don't really want to analyze it right now. It's too gross. I'm honestly going through a really tough grieving time right now. I feel like such a failure. What's worse is that he does not care in the least. When I called him to tell him I was leaving, he said, "Okay, let me know when you want to grab your stuff. We can have you moved out ASAP. And that was it. That was all he said before he hung up the phone. I'm really hurting. I loved him so much, and I think part of me just wanted to see if he was willing to fight for me and apologize. He was not, so that's that. But although I'm hurting, I feel free. My mom has welcomed me back. She's so happy I am divorcing him. I got together with my friends who he wouldn't let me see. I watched TV shows he told me were too childish. And I've been wearing ugly sweatpants and oversized t-shirts that he always said made me look like a man. So thank you, all of you. I got a wake-up call I desperately needed. I don't even want to be a housewife. I never wanted that for me. No hate on anyone who does. Honestly, guys, it was hard and lonely work. I'm going to be a registered nurse and then move on to my master's. You've all encouraged me in the best way possible. Now for some top comments. Oof, I was just about to ask what the age difference was. Female 19, male 31? Thank God you hadn't invested more time in that relationship. I'm so glad to hear you're starting to find your way to a better place. Bruh, and they're married. That means he knew her before. What the hell? That creepy cheap a-hole. Instead of paying for a goddamn housekeeper, he hung around high school kids to nab himself a housemate he could sleep with. When someone who is 31 is dating/married to a literal teenager, it's because no one within their generation could stand them. You are so much not a failure for leaving. It's great that you recognized the abuse and removed yourself from that situation. As for his reaction, he's trying to trigger you into going back to beg for his love. It's just more manipulation. All the best to you. Thank you. I have already made a decision to not see him unless my parents are with me, just in case I have a moment of weakness. Every day is getting easier. Good for you. Please get legal advice now before you move your stuff/return the key, especially if the house is marital property. Not a lawyer. Not sure if it matters, but I would want to check with a lawyer first for that very reason. Don't let him get out of this marriage with more than his share just because it's easier now. You may regret it later, and you deserve to start this new phase of your life with your head held high. He is very much about appearances, so most likely the divorce will be quiet. I don't think he'd try to pull any spiteful moves, especially since he loves his reputation. The next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my wife that it is ridiculous to complain about my mom playing favorites? My mom and my wife do not like each other. I'll assign 60% of the blame to my mom because she is difficult, and 40% to my wife because she escalates things. I get that isn't how life works, but I'm just trying to explain that they have been both horrible to each other. My mom wants very low contact with my wife and tries to see me when she isn't around. My mom said when my wife was pregnant, to mean private, that she knew we would probably keep the baby from her if she didn't work in things with my wife. I said I didn't like her phrasing. But yes, if you can't respect the mother, don't expect much of a relationship. My mom said then that is her choice, and she doesn't want much of a relationship. My wife sees my mom about once a month. My mom is nice and polite to my son, now 5, but not really interested, never offers to babysit or asks about him when he isn't around. My mom has a 6-year-old with my stepdad, and my wife has always claimed she favors her. I mean, it's her daughter. In my opinion, she is allowed to care more about her own daughter than someone else's kid. My wife complains that my mom is very maternal and affectionate with my sister but shows little interest in our son. She brought it up at lunch the other day with her parents, who hate my mom, and I said it is ridiculous that she considers it favoritism when one is her child and the other one isn't. My mother-in-law called me cold and insensitive and said she loves our son just as much as my wife or her brother. I mean, I was raised by someone who is proud of being cold, so maybe I am. My wife got mad at me in private for calling her ridiculous and also said my opinion is wrong and I should be more worried about this favoritism. Now for the top comments. Not a a-hole. Wife. I don't want your mom to have a close relationship with our child. Your mom. Okay. Wife. Shocked Pikachu face. Also, what on earth? Your wife thinks your mom should treat her own daughter, who she has a responsibility for, the same as her grandchild? She's being ridiculous. Reading the post again, it seems like the mom preemptively decided to not have a close relationship with her grandson because she didn't want to get along with Opie's wife. That doesn't change the fact that a mother has more responsibility to her own child than the children of others, but the cold relationship towards her grandson appears to be 100% the mom's doing. Let me make sure I have this straight from you, Opie, in the comments. 1. Your wife regularly tries to goad your mother into reacting by rubbing on your mom without her consent after being repeatedly asked to stop, as well as pulls childish pranks like licking cakes your mom was making for someone else. You find this behavior acceptable because your mom's general demeanor is sulky and aloof. 2. Your mom asks about how she will be able to have a relationship with your son given how things are with your wife. You told her to not expect a relationship with your son unless your mother respected your wife, who repeatedly violates your mom's boundaries and assaults her. 3. Your mom recognizes that both you and your wife are clearly using your son as a power play. She decides not to play your game, accepts the fact that she won't have a relationship with your son, and then behaves accordingly. 4. Your mom has her hands full with a 6-year-old child already, and you are upset she doesn't offer to babysit your son? The person neither you nor your wife want him to have a relationship with because your mom won't put up with your wife's BS. 5. You get together with your wife and her parents where criticism of your mom is an acceptable topic of discussion. When you do decide to pipe up, it is only to say that it is ridiculous to complain that your mom would care more about her own child than her grandchild, completely ignoring the actual reason why your mom doesn't have a relationship with your son. 6. Your wife, backed up by her parents, has found a new angle to criticize your mom and is now goading you into addressing this favoritism. Everyone sucks here. Your wife for regularly assaulting your mom and being a bully. You for acting like actions don't have consequences and letting your mom bear the brunt of your wife's shenanigans, particularly with acting like the favoritism is merely biological instead of a direct result of your actions. Your mom for being so petty about the relationship barrier that she won't even ask about how your son is doing and is purposely cold towards a 5-year-old who can't understand adult relationship dynamics. Your mother-in-law for the one-upping. You all sound exhausting. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for rudely correcting my husband's friend after he repeatedly called me his girlfriend? So I will start this off by saying my husband and I got engaged and married young. We've been married 4 months. I'm 22 and he's 24, and we got engaged at 20 and 22. Throughout our engagement, people always downplayed it, acted like it wasn't a real engagement, and people were surprised when we announced we had gotten married. I always felt like people thought we weren't a serious couple, so it's definitely a sore spot for me, and it still is. Which is why I think I could be the a-hole here because I'm being sensitive. I recently encouraged my husband to make more friends, and after a while of talking to this guy, we decided to go on a double date. The guy's girlfriend couldn't come, so it was just us and him, which is awkward. He starts asking questions about us and repeatedly refers to me as my husband's girlfriend. Both my husband and I corrected him a couple times, and he would apologize but keep doing it. Finally, after a few times I go, "Dude, I'm not his freaking girlfriend, I am his wife." And I flash both our wedding rings. We soon say goodbye after that, and he texts my husband and says he doesn't think they were compatible and that I was really rude. My husband isn't mad at me, but he is disappointed and I feel bad. I should have just kept my mouth shut. That's why I feel like I'm the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Meh, sounds like he had it coming. Weird that he kept using the word girlfriend and not, your name. When you were both at the table. Was he ignoring you and speaking directly to your husband? Does your girlfriend want to order an appetizer, etc.? That is exactly it. He never directly spoke to me. Well, bullet dodged. Not the a-hole. This seems like some passive-aggressive behavior to me. It's not like he knew you guys as boyfriend and girlfriend. You just met him. So he's only known you as married, was introduced to you as married. It's really weird to constantly refer to you as girlfriend when he just met you as a wife. I know I have an issue with my boyfriend's friends that are similar. I have been with him almost a decade, and anytime I'm around and someone new comes around, I'm introduced as ex's girlfriend. And I'm like, please guys, it's been a decade. I have a name. We don't hang out with them anymore though, so we see where that got them. Lol. Not the a-hole. I hate people who think that just because someone gets married/engaged young, like, yeah, sure, they're like 21 to 24, but like, just let them get married if they love each other. Jeez. Sorry you had to deal with that, OP. Update. Am I the a-hole for telling my husband that he is in fact just like his father? Original story. My 31 female husband 31 male, and I have 4 children. A son, 9 male, a daughter 8 female, and twins, 5 male. My husband and I were over the moon when we had our first 2 kids, and were just very excited. The twins were a huge surprise considering twins aren't common in either of our families, but we decided to keep them. However, my husband's attitude towards the twins has completely changed. I know it's tiring. We have other little children running around too, but it's not like we're overwhelmed. My mother, who is still very young and fit, lives with us, and she usually takes care of the kids when she can. We aren't short on money either, as both of us come from pretty wealthy families. However, I know that sometimes that isn't even enough when it comes to parenting, so I decided to leave it. However, instead of moping around or just being distant, he's become pretty mean with the twins. He's always finding something to shout at them for. I kid you not, he shouts at them for being identical as if they purposely planned it. Plus, he's the perfect dad with my older children. He only acts weird with the twins. I had enough yesterday when my youngest asked me why dad hates him and whether I want him to disappear too. There is absolutely no way a little kid would lie about something like this. I don't think he has the mental ability to make up things like that either. I was furious and confronted my husband, who was sound asleep in the bedroom. I asked him what his problem was and why he's being a nahal. He was confused, so I explained. He then accused my son of lying and saying nonsense. Obviously, I didn't believe him and told him that he was exactly like his father. He got pissed and left the house. I don't know where he went, and honestly, I don't give a crap. Side note, husband's father was, in short, a piece of turd. Very absent and cheated on his wife a lot. My husband vowed to never be like him, and gets very heated at the mention of his dad. Anyways, my mother, who heard the whole thing go down, told me that I did the right thing by shouting at him, but I should have not mentioned his father. My sister, who I called later, said the same, and told me to make a post on here just to see. So, am I the a-hole for telling my husband that he is exactly like his turd of a father? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole. He sounds like a nahal. People who are mistreated often become one themselves. This isn't acceptable. Not a a-hole, but I actually think you're failing your kids. You can't allow him to keep treating your twins like that. It's a terrible environment for them to be raised in. Your husband needs to get into therapy and change his attitude, or you need to leave him. Poor little boys. He is scapegoating them while treating the elder two like golden children. It's classic abuser behavior, and OP needs to step up and stop allowing it to happen. Not a a-hole. I'm sorry. I encourage you to keep being advocates for your twins, and if he is saying things like that around them, maybe limit their one-on-one time with dad. Things like that is so damaging to kids. And they're not too young to understand, as you pointed out. They know they're being treated differently. Whatever you do, don't subject them to someone who isn't kind to them constantly. Good luck. Maybe limit their one-on-one time with dad. Yeah, OP, you are not a a-hole for being upset. But keeping your younger two in a home that is obviously emotionally damaging to them because the marriage is good for you, that's not being a good mother. As a parent, it's your job to put your kids first. And you clearly both have the money and support to do this without living with your husband. At a certain point, you have to realize that you can't just sacrifice the twins' well-being for everyone else in the family status quo. Now for the update. So first things first, I would like to thank all of you for your input. I read every single reply and have taken all your words into consideration. Secondly, I would like to clarify a few things. 1. When I said that my husband and I decided to keep the twins, I meant that we had to think long and hard about me giving birth to them. My first 2 pregnancies had a lot of complications, and according to the doctor, twins would be worse. Ultimately, we both decided that we would keep the kids and pray to God that I would be fine. It was tough. I almost passed, but I survived. 2. I had mentioned my husband's behavior before, and he always told me that I was overanalyzing him or overreacting. According to him, I was doing too much. I actually thought I was going crazy and felt like a witch for thinking my husband was mistreating the twins. However, my son's face showed me that I was right the whole time, and I should not have let it go on as much as I did. And I blew up on him. Yes, I said it to hurt him, but I also said it because I hoped that he would realize that he is turning into a jerk of a man, just like his father. Now on to the update. So, a few hours after I made the post, my husband messaged me saying that he was sorry for leaving the house abruptly and shouting, etc. I first asked him where he was, and he said that he was at his brother's house. I told him to get comfortable because there was no way he was coming back home. I then asked him if we could meet later, and he said sure. So the next morning I went over to his brother's house and we talked. And honestly, I'm numb. I'm going to keep this as short as possible, so I'll skip over the irrelevant stuff. So first, I apologized for comparing him to his father, not for shouting at him, but for the comparison, and he said it was fine. He apologized as well. Then I asked him why he was so mean to the twins. It took some time for him to tell me the truth, but he spilled. Like many of you suggested, he said that he felt like they weren't his children. Apparently the kids don't look or act like him and he got bad vibes from them. I rolled my eyes at the bad vibes part, but I assured him that I did not cheat on him, and that just because they don't look like him, they look a lot like me, doesn't mean they aren't his children. He said that he did trust me, but something about the twins was off. I told him that he wasn't making any sense and that he needed to see a therapist, ASAP. He kind of looked defeated before saying that he would. I forced him to make an appointment then and there in front of me. I then told him that he wasn't coming near any of the kids until he sorted out his issues, because the children are going to be heavily affected by him. I mentioned some of the things you guys said about how much words hurt and how kids remember. At this point, I had some hope that he would get better, that there was a slight chance of us becoming a family again. But then I asked him one more question. Did he ever physically hurt our twins? Somebody mentioned this in the replies of my original post and it had been killing me. I needed to know. He said yes, but only a few times when they were being difficult. I was shocked. He hit our children and I was clueless. He said that it wasn't hard and that the twins were throwing things and wouldn't calm down, so he hit them. He didn't mean to and lost control. I didn't want to hear anymore and immediately left before I did something. I went home, and when my mom asked how it went, I cried. I sobbed in her arms. I don't know where I went wrong and why everything was going downhill. You hear these things happen in news or in movies, but you never realize that it could be happening to you or your babies. I then made sure my kids were okay. I asked my twins first if Dad ever hurt them. They said yes, and one of them even said that he was scary. I asked my eldest two if Dad ever hurt them, and they said no. I asked the two if they ever saw Dad hit the twins, and my son didn't know, but my daughter did. She even said that they deserved it. That ruined me even more. I mentioned that my daughter had been starting to treat the twins like her father, but I managed to stop it. Obviously, she isn't mean to their face anymore, but it's obvious she thinks low of them. So, taking advantage of the money I am privileged enough to have, I have decided to put all of them in therapy with the best people I could find. When they asked where their dad was, I told them that he was busy with work and wouldn't be home for a bit. I honestly don't know if that was the right call, but I don't want a man who hits kids in my house or near my children. I'm just numb. I've cried so much that I cannot cry anymore. I can't be angry because I let this happen for so long. I can't be guilty because I need to stay strong for my children. I still don't know what to do. Like I've said a billion times, I'm so numb. It's like all the joy has been sucked out at me. Thankfully, my sister moved in, and both her and my mother have been supporting me a lot. I felt like letting it all out, and talking about it on this post would help me feel better. But I still keep getting flashes of anger, sadness, guilt, etc., and I don't know. I know I'm making this about me, but I don't know how to handle all this information that's been dumped on me in one day. But I'm going to be strong for my children. I'm going to get the best lawyer I can find, and I'm going to do my best to protect my kids. Whether I let my husband into my life or the lives of my kids is still a huge question mark for me, as my eldest two have mentioned that they miss him. Now we'll see how things go, but I don't know if I can ever trust him again. He has messaged me a few times since our conversation saying sorry, and that he really didn't hate our twins. But I don't know. And yeah, Once again, thank you random strangers on the internet for the replies and private messages. I don't know if this update was satisfying, and I highly doubt that I'll update again as I'm going to put all my time into helping my kids. But I hope you all have an amazing day. Thank you guys. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my mom I don't feel like I have sisters when she asked why I didn't invite my sisters to my birthday? I, 23 female, have two older half-sisters, 26 female, 27 female. My mom was married to their dad, divorced just after 26 female was born, and met my dad soon after and they had me. My mom shared custody of my sisters and my parents are still together. Growing up, they were always so close with each other. They would hang out, do fun stuff together, and it didn't include me unless my mom insisted on it. And sometimes it wasn't a fight. Just a thing of, oh, you're going to the park? Well, little sister can come. Outside of stuff like that, I was always left out. And when we all did stuff as a family, I felt very much like an only child. I was never included in the jokes. They'd want to sit with each other. They would sometimes not even talk to me, which wasn't always a bad thing, lol. Especially when we were teenagers. As adults, nothing much has changed. I have often asked them if they wanted to do things, and they are either too busy or they forget to show up and just never bother following up when they do. And they have done plenty of stuff without me. My oldest sister got married and had our middle sister in her wedding as her bridesmaid and didn't include me in any of it. I was just a regular guest, which again is fine, but it just sets the relationship. I didn't actually get to talk to either of my sisters the whole wedding. Not sure if it was deliberate, but yeah. A few years ago, they got matching sister tattoos, and the tattoos in question reference having only one sister. For me, that was when I kind of stopped caring, or started working on not caring. I had never known how to feel about it before, but I realized what it was. For years, they treated me not as a sister, but as my parents' child. Their mom's child, but not their sister. And I feel like I have gotten to the point where I'm okay with that, so long as I can treat them the same. So my 23rd birthday, I had some people over for snacks and stuff. Friends and family, but I didn't invite my sisters. I haven't been invited to their birthdays in years either. My mom questioned me on it, and I said I hadn't thought of it. She told me that wasn't possible. She told me she thought we had all moved past that stuff that were sisters. I told her it doesn't feel like I have any. It never did. They have each other and I'm on the outside. Her kid, but not their sister, and that it was fine. And after all these years, I would rather just move on. She told me it was horrible to say it feels like I have no sisters, and I told her that technically we are, but we do not have a close sibling relationship and I have never felt like their sister. My mom is mad at me for what I said to her. She's also mad at them for treating me how they did for so long. She went off on how she had talked to them so many times about this. But she's so pissed at me for saying what I did. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. Simply tell her, your mother, to read their sister tattoos. That says it all, and it is recent. Yes, exactly. You just told the truth. This is a situation they, and your mother included to some extent, created. When it started, they were children, and she could have changed their perspective. It's too late now. Not the a-hole. Your half-sisters have shown that they don't acknowledge you as their sister, so you have a right to feel that way. Your mom is an a-hole for making it seem like that's your fault you don't feel that way. They have been a-holes to you, so I'm glad that you have grown to not care about the exclusion they have done to you. I'm sorry your mother tried to make your birthday about them. Of course not. Speaking your truth isn't wrong. And your mom is aware of the issues, and probably feels guilty about not being able to make it different, but she still shouldn't shut you down for saying it. Your sisters seem to have had plenty of chances to make a relationship with you. I imagine it's possible things will change in the future, but I think your goal of getting okay with how things are is probably the best thing you can do about it for yourself right now. Pretending it's not how things are won't help anything. Not the a-hole. Neither is your mom, but she does need to give you space to feel how you feel about it. I can't imagine what could change in the future with how clear they've been with how they feel about me. Last story is titled, Am I the a-hole for calling my in-laws gold diggers for insisting to know how much my new job pays? I'm male 28, Canadian, and my fiancée female 26 and her family are from Latin America. My mother and father-in-law found out about my new job and wanted to have a private conversation with me without my fiancé, so they invited me to their house. They invited me into their guest room. My father-in-law asked me to leave my phone and keys at the dining table. They started talking about my new job. They had no idea how much I get paid and asked me to tell them about my salary, but I politely declined to tell them. They asked why. I just bluntly told them it was none of their business. Father-in-law chimed in, saying, "You're marrying my daughter. Damn right it's my business," and kept on about making his daughter's future secured. I assured him that his daughter is in good hands, and besides, money isn't everything, and love and respect are what's important. Mother-in-law disagreed and said that money is an important factor, then gave examples of issues I'll have in my marriage if I'm not capable of providing for my family. I refused to tell them again, assured them that I'm doing well financially, so no worries. Mother-in-law refused to drop it. Claimed I was being disrespectful by treating them like they were some strangers asking about how much I get paid, and demanded I give her a number. I got so annoyed and wanted to excuse myself to the bathroom, but father-in-law got up and locked the door. I asked what the hell he was doing. He told me to calm down and that he'll unlock the door when this conversation is over. I blew up and told them that their behavior is unacceptable, and what I earn is none of their goddamn business. Then told them that only gold diggers behave like this, and right then, they were giving me huge red flags. Mother-in-law gasped loudly, and father-in-law immediately unlocked the door and asked me to leave his house. I grabbed my phone and my keys and walked out. Mother-in-law already called my fiancé and was crying, saying I disrespected them in their house and called them gold diggers for just asking how I was doing with my new job. My fiancé was upset, but I explained what her mom and dad did. She said I not only hurt her parents, but hurt her as well by calling them gold diggers, and I owe them an apology, but I refused to. I asked if she thought what her parents did was okay, but she reminded me that she's with me because she loves me whether I'm rich or poor, and it doesn't matter what others think. My fiancé never cared about money nor acted materialistic. She works as a babysitter and happy with it. She said that I needed to apologize for calling them gold diggers and hurting their feelings for being worried about us, although I assured them I'm doing well financially, and that should have been the end of it. But I guess I escalated. They escalated, and now I'm refusing to apologize. My relationship with them might suffer if I don't. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole, but deeply consider getting a prenup and reevaluating your relationship. Your in-laws are gold diggers, and your fiancé's reaction to it is deeply disturbing. She has her parents' back before yours. Just because your fiancé may not be exhibiting materialistic behaviors now, doesn't mean she won't ever, given what you just witnessed with her parents. The apple clearly doesn't fall far from the tree. Not the a-hole. Legally, by locking the door and refusing to let you leave, it could be considered kidnapping. 100% on the prenup. Not the a-hole. Locking you in was so past the line of, okay, I would reconsider marrying into this crazy family. They locked you in a room with them without your phone or keys. Definitely not the a-hole. If you're going to try to make it work with her, set boundaries now. Do not apologize for acting like anyone would in that situation. They weren't just rude, they were threatening. And the thing is, I'm sure your girlfriend knows how they are.